Every year, more than 90 million new cars are produced around the world. Yet very few people ever stop to ask, how do these vehicles leave the factory, travel thousands of kilometers across oceans, and arrive at dealerships in another country, on time, for the right market, and without a single scratch? Behind every brand new car we see in a showroom lies a logistics system operating with minute-by-minute precision. At the center of that system are car terminals. These are the places where thousands of vehicles are loaded onto ships, unloaded, inspected, processed, and finished in a continuous flow, leaving almost no room for error. In today's video, Mandarin Tech takes you behind the scenes of modern car terminals, where vehicles quietly begin their critical journey across the global automotive trade network. In the history of the global automotive supply chain, car terminals did not emerge by chance. The first fully developed dedicated car terminal was completed in the late 1960s in Bremerhaven, Germany, one of Europe's most important maritime gateways, with a total investment reaching hundreds of millions of US dollars. The automotive industry relies on maritime transport not simply because it is cheaper, but because it is the only option capable of moving thousands of vehicles at once with an acceptable level of risk. Long-distance road transport increases the chances of collisions, wear and tear, and quickly reaches capacity limits. Air transport, on the other hand, costs dozens of times more in logistics expenses per vehicle, making it virtually impossible at a commercial scale. Of course, ocean transport is never completely risk-free. In 2022, the car carrier Felicity Ace caught fire and later sank in the Atlantic Ocean, taking nearly 4,000 vehicles from Porsche, Bentley, Lamborghini, and other brands with it, causing estimated losses of over 400 million US dollars. Yet despite such rare incidents, humanity continues to place its trust in the sea because it remains the only route capable of carrying the global journey of the automotive industry. To transport large volumes of cars and motor vehicles, the maritime industry relies on a specialized type of ship known as ro-ro vessels, short for roll-on, roll-off. Unlike container ships, ro-ro ships are designed so that vehicles can drive on and off the vessel using their own wheels. The most distinctive feature of a ro-ro ship is its movable ramp system, usually located at the stern or sometimes along the side of the vessel. When the ship docks, this ramp is lowered to form a temporary bridge connecting the ship's deck directly to the port. This allows vehicles to drive straight from the parking yard onto the ship without the need for cranes or lifting equipment. Inside the hull, the ship contains multiple decks stacked vertically, resembling a multi-story parking garage. Some of these decks are height adjustable, allowing the vessel to accommodate a wide range of vehicles, from standard passenger cars to trucks and heavy machinery. The decks are connected by internal ramp systems, enabling continuous vehicle movement between levels. Along the deck floors, secured lashing points are installed to ensure that vehicles remain firmly in place throughout the ocean voyage. Before boarding the ship, every vehicle must pass through the port's control gate. Here, operators use scanners to verify the vehicle's ID and cross-check it against data that has already been preloaded into the system. Each car is assigned a specific parking position on the ship, calculated in advance to maximize space efficiency and ensure safety. This step is critical. If even a single vehicle is placed in the wrong position, the entire loading plan can be disrupted. That is why every data point must be absolutely accurate before the vehicle leaves the yard. Once the inspection is complete, the car is cleared to move into the staging area, where it waits to be loaded onto the vessel. When vehicle loading officially begins, the rhythm of the car terminal changes immediately. The atmosphere becomes faster and more intense, as this is the stage where time pressure is at its highest. On a large ro-ro vessel, during a 16-hour shift, operations teams may need to load nearly 1,000 vehicles. That means, on average, one car must be positioned on the ship every minute. Dozens of workers operate continuously, divided into teams and coordinating through radios, hand signals, and loading plans. Vehicles line up and drive onto the ramp, disappearing one by one into the ship's hull. Inside is a dense network of decks, internal ramps, and narrow lanes, all designed to maximize space. The distance from the port yard to a vehicle's final parking position on board, including internal ramps and deck corridors, can reach nearly 1 kilometer. Drivers must maintain steady speed and absolute precision, as even a minor scrape can disrupt the entire flow behind them. At this stage, speed becomes a matter of survival. Every minute of delay keeps the ship in port longer, driving up costs and increasing the risk of schedule disruptions for the entire ocean voyage. But speed alone is not enough. As the flow of vehicles grows denser, another factor begins to dominate the entire operation: space. Driving brand new vehicles through the confined interior of a ro-ro ship requires an intense level of concentration. When only a few cars are on board, movement is relatively easy. But as the decks gradually fill up, visibility becomes limited and the gaps between vehicles grow smaller, making every maneuver more difficult. The first vehicles loaded often have to travel longer and more complex routes, as ships are typically loaded from top to bottom and from the inside outward. Even a minor steering error or sudden braking can lead to a collision. That is why drivers and guiding personnel must work in perfect coordination, ensuring that every vehicle is positioned safely in its assigned spot. After the vehicles have been positioned correctly, the work on board is not yet finished. At this stage, the entire deck is inspected once again. Safety personnel check the spacing between vehicles, the condition of exterior surfaces, and the stability of each unit. The goal is to ensure that every vehicle is properly positioned and has no risk of shifting once the ship leaves port. Only after this inspection is complete does the lashing process begin. Each vehicle is secured to the deck using specialized cables or chains, attached to pre-engineered anchoring points built into the ship. These anchoring points are designed to withstand heavy loads, ensuring that vehicles remain stable throughout the voyage. During sea journeys that last for weeks, ro-ro ships inevitably encounter rough seas and constant motion. If vehicles are not properly secured, they can shift, collide with one another, and suffer serious damage. For this reason, lashing is considered the final line of protection before the vessel departs. Once all vehicles are safely secured, the loading ramp is raised. The ship completes its final preparations and officially leaves port, beginning its ocean-crossing journey with thousands of brand new vehicles on board. But at the destination car terminal, a different cycle is about to begin. When the ship arrives at port, the unloading process does not start immediately with lowering the ramp. Instead, it begins with organizing people. The shift supervisor gathers the drivers and coordination staff to brief them on the day's work plan. Who drives which vehicle, the designated driving routes, and how parking areas on the terminal are assigned, all of this must be clearly defined from the start. On board the ship are nearly 1,000 vehicles, each belonging to a different model and occupying a specific position on the deck. Unloading cannot be done at random. The terminal is divided into zones, rows, and individual slots, so that everyone in the next stages of transport, from truck drivers to rail operators, can accurately identify the exact location of every vehicle. As the hydraulic ramp slowly lowers, the atmosphere on the dock immediately shifts. After weeks at sea, the first vehicles begin to roll out of the ship, leaving the enclosed space and artificial lighting of the steel decks behind as they emerge into daylight. From multiple deck levels, lines of vehicles move one after another across the ramp, flowing into the vast parking yards of the car terminal. Every movement follows a pre-planned sequence, where each vehicle has a designated order, route, and stopping point. Unlike the intensity of loading, the unloading phase moves at a calmer pace, yet demands the same level of precision. On the narrow ramp, drivers must maintain steady speed, constantly adjusting their steering as lighting conditions, slope angles, and visibility change rapidly. All instructions from supervising staff, communicated through radios and hand signals, must be followed without exception. A single inaccurate maneuver can lead to a scrape and disrupt the entire line of vehicles behind it. No one rushes, but no one is allowed to move slowly either. The work tempo is held at a delicate balance between efficiency and safety. One by one, vehicles leave the ramp, separating from the ship that carried them across the ocean and entering the structured order of the terminal. When the final vehicle rolls onto the dock, the ship's mission is complete. The ocean journey comes to an end, giving way to a new chapter in the commercial life cycle of the vehicles that have just arrived. As soon as vehicles leave the ramp and enter the terminal yard, A quiet but critical phase begins. Vehicle inspection. Each car is briefly stopped while technicians carry out an exterior check. They examine the body panels, glass, lights, wheels, and other vulnerable components, comparing the vehicle's actual condition with records documented before the ship departed the origin port. This process is not about achieving absolute perfection, but about accurately identifying any changes, no matter how minor, that may have occurred during the ocean voyage. Every scratch or irregularity is immediately logged into the system, ensuring that responsibility is clearly defined before the vehicle moves on to the next stage. Only after passing this inspection are vehicles cleared to leave the terminal yard, continuing their journey by road or rail, one step closer to their final destination, the hands of the customer. Leaving the inspection area behind, the vehicles move into the terminal's dedicated washing zone, where traces of the ocean journey are gradually removed. Even when protected inside the ship, cars can still accumulate salt residue, moisture, grease, and dirt generated during loading and unloading operations. Vehicle washing, therefore, is not merely cosmetic, but a necessary technical step before the cars enter the next stage of distribution. Here, semi-automated or fully automated washing systems operate continuously. High-pressure water combined with neutral cleaning solutions removes contaminants from paint surfaces, glass, and undercarriages without damaging the vehicle's finish. Sensitive areas such as door seams, wheel wells, and lower body sections receive special attention, as these are most prone to salt buildup. Every step is carefully controlled, ensuring that each vehicle leaves the washing zone clean, dry, and ready for the next phase of its logistics journey. Adjacent to the washing area is the technical workshop, where newly arrived vehicles receive their final preparations before leaving the port. Here, engineers and technicians install market-specific equipment such as tow hooks, navigation systems, radios, or hands-free units. Each vehicle is checked against its exact configuration to ensure that no component is missing or incorrectly installed. Many parts are not installed at factories in Asia, either to reduce production costs or to maintain flexibility in meeting the requirements of different markets. As a result, the final preparation stage inside the technical workshop plays a critical role. All work is carried out in a clean environment with high precision, strictly avoiding any scratches or damage to the vehicle's exterior. After passing a final inspection, the vehicle is officially cleared to leave the port, completing its behind-the-scenes journey before reaching the customer. Leaving the seaport, where thousands of vehicles are loaded and unloaded through tightly disciplined mechanical processes, the story of mobility begins to shift in a completely different direction. If car terminals represent the peak of land and maritime logistics, then in the sky, a new revolution is quietly taking shape. And at the center of that revolution is Xpeng. As cities grow increasingly congested, with roads packed and travel time eroded minute by minute, Xpeng is not trying to further optimize what already exists. Instead, the company is asking a more radical question. What if people could leave the ground altogether? From that question, electric flying vehicles like the Xpeng X2 were born, not as showroom concepts or laboratory prototypes, but as machines capable of real-world takeoff, landing, and operation. Looking even further ahead, Xpeng expands its vision with the Land Aircraft Carrier project, a fusion of ground vehicle and flight module within a single system. A vehicle that moves smoothly through city streets like an electric car, yet can deploy its wings and take to the air within minutes when needed. Rather than replacing cars or aircraft entirely, Xpeng aims to connect two modes of mobility that have remained separate for more than a century. If seaports are where vehicles begin their commercial journey, then the low-altitude sky is the next frontier Xpeng is targeting. A new journey is unfolding, one that does not merely change how people move, but also challenges the limits of infrastructure, space, and the future of modern cities themselves. Transporting cars by sea is a complex operation where every movement is carefully calculated. From the moment a vehicle leaves the factory, passes through the car terminal, boards a ship, crosses the ocean, and is finally unloaded and finished, each step requires tight coordination between people, technology, and operational discipline. Despite the risks involved, Maritime transport remains the most efficient way to move thousands of vehicles safely and cost-effectively across the globe. And it is at car terminals that these quiet journeys are connected, managed, and completed every single day. If you want to continue exploring the hidden systems behind the modern world, be sure to follow Mandarin Tech for more videos to come.